Right now?
No,
Yeah, just want to know if you're ready.
20
Yeah.
seconds.
La, 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 la.
Good evening. This is the Grand Charles County Board of Commissioners. It's Wednesday, October 29th. It's 6 p.m. in the Commission chambers. If you'd all please turn off your cell phones or make sure they're silent. If we'll have the opening ceremonies with a prayer and then the pledge.
Our dear God, we love you and we thank you. There's times in our life, God, right now, that we feel tired and overwhelmed and not able to do what we want to do. But we ask tonight that you help us align our hearts and mind with your heart and mind, and that we realize through you in all these things we can be more than a conqueror. We can be mighty, and we can do good through you for goodness sake. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Bonnie.
Commissioner Lathrop,
Here.
Max Bauer,
Here.
Wheelock, Thomas,
Here.
Inman,
Here.
Rennie,
Present.
Lemko.
Here. Next, we have the approval of minutes of September 3rd, the special 911 surcharge meeting.
So move.
Moved by Charlie Rennie, support by Thomas. Any other changes or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is the September 24th regular session.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the September 24th, 2014 regular session minutes.
Motion by Inman, support by Rennie. I was not at that meeting, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is our first public comment opportunity. Bonnie, if you could read the rules, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. A, any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. B, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
You've heard the rules. Does anybody here from the public wish to make comment?
My name is Tom Mayer. I live at 612 Fifth Street in Traverse City. And I'm here to remind everybody that the election is on Tuesday, very important ballot. And as they just brought up a second ago, the 9/11 county proposal is on the back. I just would like to say that if you'd like more information about county hiring practices having to do with the Parks and Recreation Department, the Record Eagle had a story yesterday that seemed all right, and it's informative. Also, I would like to know if it's possible before the election, if the board can give us any information about why Jason Jones departed from the Parks and Recreation Department, and if there's any pattern of problems in that department, going back to the director before that. I think he's still around town. He works for the DNR. It would be nice if the voters had some information, because it does matter. It does matter a lot if we know what's going on with the county employees. I mean, why did the two employees leave the Twin Lakes Park? Was it just a retirement? I don't know. I don't know what's really going on. That's what I would like to know. It's one of the reasons I'm running for office. I'm running for District 2 County Commissioner. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to make comment?
I'm Deborah Nesbitt, 400 West Beach Bark Trail, Maple City, 49664.
I just would like to invite the commissioners tomorrow night. We have a special meeting for Parks and Rec on the Kids Cove, and so we'd like to invite all the commissioners to be there, and also the public. If you're in the room, we encourage you to come to that meeting. That's it.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll go on with the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda?
We don't have an addition. We are going to have a closed session. And there is an item on your table that is in reference to the budget. If we get to the point where we are addressing the budget, we can
Okay.
talk about these amendments.
I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented then.
So moved.
By Lathrop, support by Rennie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file. Number 1, resolution calling on the state of Michigan to provide adequate road funding and asking for additional local road funding options, Washtenaw County. Number 2, resolution levying a special tax to keep existing roads, streets, paths, bridges, and culverts in reasonable repair and in a condition reasonably safe and fit for public travel, Washtenaw County. Number 3, correspondence from Michigan Association of Counties regarding resolution opposing House Bill 4874, dated 9/30/2014. Correspondence from Northern Michigan Substance Abuse Services regarding funding to Northern Michigan Regional Entity, dated October 2nd, 2014. Correspondence thanking volunteers for cleanup of illegal dump site, dated October 14th. Northern Nexus minutes of June 26th. Number 7, Area Agency on Aging of Northwest Michigan minutes of August 7th. Number 8, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of August 19th. Number 9, Traverse Area District Library minutes of August 21st. Number 10, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority minutes of August 27th. Number 11, Collaborative Meeting minutes of August 28th. Number 12, Northern Nexus minutes of August 28th. Number 13, Department of Human Services Board minutes, August 29th. Number 14, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Study Session minutes of September 10th. Number 15, Board of Public Works Special Meeting minutes of September 10th. Number 16, Board of Public Works minutes of September 11th. Number 17, Central Dispatch Policy Board minutes of September 18th. Number 18, Department of Veteran Services minutes of September 18th. Number 19, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health minutes of September 18th. Approvals. The Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following. Number 20, acceptance of RAP grant, TASER project. Number 21, Commission on Aging revised fund balance policy. Number 22, Senior Center Network Database Tracking System expansion. Number 23, Certificate of Appreciation to Patrick Cudney, Michigan State University Extension. Number 24, Health Department Building Commission. The Resource Management and Administration Committee made no recommendations in October. The Ways and Means Committee recommended approval of the following. Number 25, 2014 Apportionment Report. Number 26, Budget Adjustments.
You've heard the consent calendars. Anybody from the audience like any one of these items removed? Any commissioner like any one of these items removed? Mr. Rennie?
A6.
A6.
What is A?
Nexus
Receive and file,
minutes.
Northern Nexus minutes. Got it, sorry. I hope John's ready.
Okay. Anything else that somebody'd like to have removed?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
With the exception of A6.
A6.
I will support.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is the item removed from the
Special order of business.
consent agenda.
Special order business.
Oh, we got special orders of business, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Special orders of business. This is going to be a public hearing on the Grand Terrace County Hospital Finance Authority revenue bonds issued in an amount not to exceed $65 million. So if there's anybody, I'll open this public hearing for that purpose. Anybody who would like to bring us up to speed or make any comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible if Dean could just give a short, very short summary of
We can.
information?
This is the
on-
merger of the hospitals with
Yeah.
Cadillac and Grayling.
Yeah, and I think it'd be important
Yeah.
just to cite that.
So, Dean?
Just a couple of brief comments, and we do have Mark Hepler from Munson here. I did ask Mark to come because he can, maybe we'll have Mark go right up to the podium, but in your packet you have the notice. We were required to publish a legal notice regarding what we were proposing to do through the Hospital Finance Authority, and we don't do this on a regular basis, so just to give you a little bit more information. If you look at page 78, the reason we're having the public hearing at this level is because it's to satisfy the requirements of the code. We will have public hearings in the other two counties as well. They're indicated in the notice. And the Hospital Finance Authority, the County Hospital Finance Authority, will meet on November 10th to discuss this as well. But with Mark here, I thought we should at least have Mark explain what we're proposing here with this financing, and he can do it a lot better than I can, so.
Thank you.
Mark Hepler, the CFO from Munson
Thank you, Dean.
Hospital.
Yes, so we have plans to borrow approximately $65 million for really two projects. One is to finish the Cancer Center in Traverse City, which the community has so gracefully donated most of the money for that. And second, to buy Cadillac and Grayling Hospital from Trinity Health. So that's really the purpose of the borrowing.
Think you're going to get a good rate?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Market's kind of moving in that direction,
Good.
so yeah.
Anybody have any questions of Mark?
Public hearing.
I know. So, very good. Anybody in the public would like to ask or make any comments on this particular issue? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Mark, do you have any idea what the, I know it's difficult to project until the bonds are sold, but what the savings to Munson will be by running this bond sale through the county?
Right, so what happens is this allows us to borrow tax exempt. So through that, we can save, on a marginal basis, maybe 35% in rates over commercial rates to be able to access tax exempt money. It's similar to municipal bonds.
I understand that, but I don't think the public understands the
Sure.
idea that why the hospital borrows money through the county. And the long and the short of it is, it saves our regional hospital tons of money. I think, if I recall, when we did the $10 million for the emergency room expansion, they figured we saved about $1.5 million during the course of the bond. So it's on a $65 million sale, there will be, probably somewhere in excess of $5 million saved by Munson Hospital by Grand Traverse County participating in the sale of these bonds.
There's no doubt about it. It's material.
I need a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution allowing for the sale of bonds for the Hospital Finance Authority not to exceed $65 million.
Support. I have a motion and support from Rennie. Any other discussion? Larry?
I think you just need to notate in the minutes that you've closed the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I should have closed the public
He
hearing. I
did.
thought I
He
did.
did.
Public hearing
6:13.
before
Yeah, I
us.
thought I did.
Okay.
So I've been known to not do that, so thank you.
Well,
Charlie?
it went from here to him to the motion, so I didn't hear that, so.
Thanks. Why are we merging these hospitals? What's going on in the medical field that makes this desirable now at this time? And apparently it's necessary. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. First of all, the industry's changing very substantially and very fast. And we have worked with Trinity for a long time managing these hospitals. But as we move from a fee-for-service-based payment system to a value-based payment system, we need covered lives to be able to keep the medical center as strong as it is. So we need to be able to have a territory or a market that gives us the referral business we need that's necessary to support a significant medical center in Traverse City. So these hospitals have been part of Trinity, CHE Trinity, which is a $13 billion healthcare system in the country. And they even agree that it makes sense for them to work closer with us to coordinate care throughout our communities. So it's really focused on patient quality, keeping patient quality high, access to care, and good economics.
Is this driven a little bit by the Affordable Care Act, where we're looking at preventative versus curative approaches?
Yeah, I mean, so the that act really brings into play accountable care organizations. And accountable care organizations actually, instead of being paid for every time they deliver a service like a CT scan or an MRI, they're paid on a risk-based, value-based payment system. So you're really managing more of a population than you are just driving revenues through additional volume. So the Accountable Care Act does call for that. Medicare has accountable care organizations already in effect, and this will help us pull together our clinically integrated network, which will match up very nicely with the Accountable Care Act.
And also, the Affordable Care Act talks about mental wellness as being part of now overall physical wellness.
Yes.
How do you feel about that, and what do you think the long-term impact will be with respect to medical delivery?
I think the jury's still out there. I mean, I think it addresses that. I don't think I've seen a very substantial change in how that's being delivered. Matter of fact, some of the organizations in the tip of the mid have closed their mental health units recently. So we're very hopeful that it's a focus. We're glad it's a focus. A lot of people deal with mental health issues in our community, and so we're glad it's a focus of that. But I haven't seen any substantial changes so far in any delivery system or payment system around mental health.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Mark, thank you and good luck, and
All right.
and
Thank you
thanks
very
for being
much.
such a good hospital in our community. Next, we have a public hearing on our budget. There is some recommendations for amendments that is on your desk, but before I do that, do you want me to open the public hearing, or do you want to have that discussion? How do you want to handle that?
My preference would be to begin with the public hearing.
Okay. I will open the public hearing for anybody that would like to speak on the budget at this time as being presented. Help yourself.
I'm back again. Melanie Stanton, probate court judge and family court judge. I just wanted to add some extra information for you that's not reflected in your budgets that you received. Just so that you are aware, our child care fund is billed for 7.2 FTEs totaling $462,016.77. And we do have, because of that, we have $231,008 that is reimbursed to the county. And additionally, I do want to tell you we have 2 truancy grants for the personnel, which pays for our personnel. And we also have the county juvenile office grant of $52,000 that helps pay for some of our social workers. So, our juvenile officers. So that when you're making the decisions to look at any cuts or any additions, I would like you to please take that into account in making these determinations. I can tell you right now what we need in the probate court is we need the tools to be successful with our job. And I think we're asking for the bare minimum so we can get that done at this time. I also do want to, we're going to find out more about it this week, but there's also some legislation that just went through. And basically, when we put a child in foster care with a private agency, we have to pay an administrative fee of $37 a day. What we were doing in the court is we were avoiding using the private agencies because $37 a day times the amount of kids we have is a lot of money. We just learned that legislation had reversed that, and what's going to be happening is DHS is going to be picking up that piece, so that will be something that we won't have to pick up, and we also are anticipating we'll get some reimbursement on that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention today, too. So thank you very much in your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to make comment? Seeing none, I will close the public comment and bring it back to the board for whatever they would like to do. Ann?
Well, just a point of procedure. There's a bunch of these suggestions. It'd be nice if we'd actually carry some of them out. Because we've gone through this before. Last year, we saw every department listen to them, and we didn't do one thing, not 1 cent. So I think the Record Eagle said last year that we vowed that we would change things. And I don't believe that was true last year. We said we'd look at it. But this time, we really did vow. We said, we're going to pass this budget, but we're going to make some changes. So I don't know what process we're going to use, but eventually we need to give our administrator controller direction to change some things. I'm personally not going to be happy if we just do nothing again. So that's just my opening statement.
So we have the option here that we can pass it as presented, or we can table it until a later meeting.
Whatever, we're going to finally have to go through every one of these things, I think one by one. I think these suggestions by my fellow commissioners are serious, and we need to look at them and vote them yea or vote them nay.
Do you want to have another meeting for that purpose, or how would you want to carry that forward, Larry?
That'd be fine with me.
Larry?
Just want to relate back to the previous motion that the board had passed, and that was a recommendation going into the public hearing that we, by the majority vote of the board, voted to tentatively approve the budget as presented, with the understanding that by year end, we would have a balanced budget with no fund balance added to the budget. And that analysis was done with a projection that we would put $1.7 million, the $1.7 million that we put in the 014 budget, approximately $1 million would not be spent out of that. So actually our shortfall was approximately 700 and some 700,000 approximately. So the goal of the board was the assumption that we would not be spending that $1 million in the fund balance, and as Dr. Lathrop indicated, let's just show the reality of not spending the $1 million in the transfer and show the shortfall of a $700,000 number, and then challenge the board by year end to make those adjustments before December 31st, the last board meeting in December. So I still would like the board to proceed with the recommendation of the budget as presented, with the understanding that the board will continue to make adjustments to that budget by year end, so it balances out with the reduction, so no fund balance is carried forward.
Is that a motion?
That would be a motion.
Do I have a support? I have support from Thomas.
Can you repeat the motion?
Yeah.
Short?
The motion is to approve the budget as presented, with the understanding that by year end, the projected shortfall of $700 and some thousand would be corrected by the Board of Commissioners by our December board meeting.
Mr. Benda, you had a
Yeah,
comment.
that's pretty much what the motion was last week.
Right.
It was a $700,000 commitment that we were going to reduce the use of fund balance by $700,000 by year end.
Okay.
And I, just parenthetically, I think that's a pretty good plan.
Mr. Lathrop.
Well, that's the same motion we made last time, and that's the one we're talking about now. They're identical. So what we're really doing is just tabling it.
No.
No. I think we're making.
Nope.
Well, what's the difference between the motion he just made and the one we made
He's
last week?
making a motion to approve the budget as recommended, and then telling the Board of Commissioners that we've got 2 months to work with our administration and to be able to reduce this budget by $700,000.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the motion you made last time?
Well,
Yeah.
the motion was to go into the public hearing with that understanding, and then have the public understand that, and then get feedback. And then we need, because that was a preliminary recommendation.
All right.
Then we needed to come back at this board meeting and reaffirm that motion or change it.
Okay, I'm just point of order here. There's been a motion and a second, is that
Right.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay, would you take a friendly amendment that we add to that a special meeting to talk about this budget?
Yes.
Go through these things?
Yes.
We can do that at a later
We do that as
motion.
a separate piece.
Yeah, we can,
Sonny, you have a comment?
yeah.
Well, I guess the comments is, this is the motion that we made last week at the budget meeting,
Yeah.
the special budget meeting, but the budget has to be adopted at a Board of Commissioners meeting, not at that committee meeting, so that's the difference between the motion last week and this week.
Right.
I do, I'm very pleased to see approximately 5 or 6 pages of recommendations that fellow commissioners have made of places that they believe that we can make cuts, or places that we've been able to possibly raise more revenue, one or the other. I think we do need to have a special meeting to review these things. Not all of these are going to be popular, and some of them I'm not even sure are even possible to be implemented. But we certainly need to have the discussion, and there's very good suggestions made.
Charlie?
We went through this exact same exercise last year. We didn't find a dime. Everybody knows that. I would not vote for this until we have a special meeting and start discussing how we're going to approach this deficit before I proceed with it. We said last year, I think we spent 3 months on it. This time we're going to have 2 months, 2 months and a half or something like that to do the same thing. I'm not saying I don't trust the board to do it. I just feel we should know more before we vote on it. Also, we have a real significant election coming up Tuesday, November 4th, with respect to a surcharge that could change the outlook of this budget dramatically, essentially address $700,000 possibly. I think we should see what the result of that is, and I think we need some more input as how we're doing with our labor negotiations. They're ongoing at this point in
We're
time.
going into closed session today to talk about that.
Before I could go forward and approve a budget with a systemic deficit.
I agree.
Other discussions?
The budget eventually has to be adopted before the first of the year. Right now, it's balanced. It will be balanced and keep you above your 15% policy, fund balance policy, at the end of 2015. We have some amendments that are sitting on your desk that probably should be added before you take any action. If you take action tonight or you take action later, the staffing plan has to be amended for a couple of these items. And the Parks Commission changed their submission, their request for capital improvements. We'd just like to be able to put the final document together with the correct information in it, and that's what these amendments are. So, I'd like to say also that this is a little different than last year. Last year, you didn't have any target. You didn't say we're going to cut X amount of dollars. And last year, you didn't really say we were going to put these ideas out there, focus on them, and see which ones we want to really study and see if we can implement and how much they will yield. Last year, we kind of said, we're going to go through the budget and we're going to see what we can find, and you didn't come up with much. But this year, you're taking a different approach. You're saying, I think we should, there were some excellent suggestions in there. We should look at this, or we should look at that. We should decide whether we want to do that or not. And then at the end of the day, after you have that discussion, then I think you can decide whether you're going to cut $700,000 or you're going to raise $700,000 in revenue or what. It's a little bit different than last year because there really was no objective, there was no target, and there were no specific recommendations or specific things that we were debating to do.
Dan?
Thank you. As much as I respect the man that made the motion and seconded it, I'm not going to be voting for this. I think we should wait until we have all the cards on the table. We've had our discussion about the stuff that all of us have said. We don't have to do it till the first of the year. Let's get the job done and then vote for that budget. Not vote for some pie-in-the-sky budget we know we're not going to do. Why do that? So I won't be supporting this motion as much as I respect all of you. I'm not going to support it.
Larry?
Technically, I was always on the understanding before Mr. Benda came in to the administrator's office that there was a state statute that said the Board of Commissioners had to adopt the following year's budget at the October board meeting, and then the Board of Commissioners can make adjustments on that budget going forward. That's what I thought we were advised of. And is that not true or not true?
No.
Okay.
No.
And we didn't do it last year either.
Yeah, but
You have to adopt it before December 31st.
we did some tabling or something. I don't recall what it was, but so there's no statute that says we have to adopt it at the October board meeting.
The challenge is that if you wait until December 31st, you're throwing 100% more work on Dean's office because they got to implement the budget starting January 1st.
At least in the majority of the areas of the county.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris?
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to let the board know that the Parks Board is being proactive. We are taking a look at our fees. We have a meeting scheduled. One of the things that I brought up on my suggestion list is with the retirement of our caretaker out at Twin Lakes, there's an opportunity here where we might be able to put someone in the facility that in exchange for living there would snowplow and mow. $50,000 savings right there. I just want to let you know that the Parks Board is being proactive and we are going to do our part.
I'm sure you will. So, Larry?
Just want a final piece. I just want to let Dr. Lathrop know and others on the board and the public that I feel strongly that this board has the courage and has the determination and will make the tough decisions by the year end, and that by going forward with this motion, at least we can put in place the majority of the budget and get it set for our departments so they know how to react moving forward in a timely basis. And then we can discuss these hard decisions and implement them before year end. And I believe this board has the determination and the will to do it. And that's why I'm going to vote for this motion.
Sonny?
I supported the motion for discussion, but I have a number of issues, many of which are on these 5 pages. At least 3 pages of it were mine when I faxed them to you. But the other thing is, Charlie's exactly right. If the surcharge passes next week, this budget looks significantly different. You know, I probably don't feel compelled to rush to pass this budget tonight. You know, we still have November's Board of Commissioners meetings, we have December's, and we have many opportunities between now and then to hold special board meeting if we need to. I won't support the budget tonight. I certainly want to at least look at some of these issues to be cut.
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw my motion. I can count.
Mr. Thomas, do you support that withdrawal?
No, but I will.
Okay.
I can count.
So I need a motion to table this.
Yes.
Charlie? You had a comment?
I had a motion.
Go ahead.
Table it.
Motion to table. Is there support?
Second.
Support by Inman.
You have to say when you're going to take it up.
Well, you defer it to...
When do you want to look at this?
Yeah, you should do, the motion really should be defer it to a special board meeting.
Otherwise, you have to have a motion.
We'll just table it, and then we'll work on the date.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I guess my question's for Bob or for David. the general appropriation resolution is a separate document from the budget, so we could still pass the appropriation resolution tonight, correct?
No. No, the general appropriations resolution is the budget.
Yeah.
It is the legal document
All right.
that authorizes spending, and the budget is attached to it.
We have a motion to table. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Would you like to set a date?
Yep.
How about 3 o'clock on the 5th, which is before our public health and safety?
I'm out of town the 4th through the 17th.
Ew.
I told you that last week.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the 4th? Tuesday? Monday?
And I suggested
Tuesday.
that we do this while you're
I know.
gone.
You thought it'd be a good idea to do it while I was gone, I suppose.
We could move that surcharge up over there to landfill.
We can do Monday, the 3rd.
Why don't we wait till after the
You know,
election?
You wanna wait
Bonnie
till-
is going to hang us
Yeah, I
if we
know.
get,
Yeah.
Do it
Yeah,
after
you know, my
election
whole
day.
entire staff is going to be up till like 2 o'clock in the
But
morning
that's-
on the 4th.
I was,
It is hard for the next day, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
no.
I'm going from the 14th to the 18th.
We gotta set it after the election, otherwise you don't know what to talk about on the
Just
surcharge.
move to the Ways and Means.
How about Friday, the 7th?
Of December?
I'm
November.
open, I'm open.
Of November, the
November?
7th.
November 7th, I'm open.
It's a Friday.
What time?
Tell me.
You got to make it after 12.
Well,
fine.
I have a 1:15 to go to 2:15, so I guess I can cancel it.
No. 3 o'clock. You want to do it 3 o'clock?
Sure.
I will be out of town, but you will have my written recommendation.
Okay.
Items listed on the pages.
You could do it 1 o'clock and I'll just change my appointment.
Whatever works best.
3 o'clock.
You want 3?
Well, it gives me time to let my dogs
you
out.
know, Sonny, is there
Are
a
you out of town?
possibility,
No, I'm in
as
town.
much as I joke about you not scheduling a meeting in your absence, is there a possibility you could teleconference in and at least share your thoughts?
Is that legal?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
just to hear his suggestions if he.
Probably not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll be in Mobile, Alabama at a
I'm
soccer
sorry.
tournament.
All right.
so.
I made a mistake. Assuming I get elected, there's a required meeting of out-of-state representatives on the 6th and 7th in Lansing. We could do it on the
Okay,
Monday the 10th?
The 10th is open. 11th is open.
Monday's better than Friday.
11th is Veterans Day, and all the county offices are closed.
That's on the 11th. No,
We can do the 12th at 3 o'clock before RNA.
12th and 13th, I'm gone to Lansing.
The 12th and 13th, you're going too?
Special orientation.
Well, Sonny, when are you coming back?
How about the 14th? Somebody said they were going the 14th.
14th through the 18th, I'm gone.
Larry, we got to do it someplace.
I know, put it on Monday.
How about Monday?
Monday, the 10th?
Yeah.
Monday, the 10th works.
Okay, now it has to be,
Yeah, what time?
After 5.
Dan works.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you can
What's
schedule
your
an evening meeting.
preference?
6 o'clock is fine for me.
6, fine.
6 o'clock
I just
Monday.
We'll just miss East Bay, that's fine.
5 o'clock on Monday?
5 or 6, anyway.
Well, that's city commission
6.
meeting.
No, we don't have to do it in here.
Well, that's okay, but it should be televised, and that makes it difficult to televise it when you're not here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Herb, we have to have it.
I'm open. You know, my calendar works. I'm just trying to put everybody else's in there
I
too.
can
So
do
does
any
mine.
time in the morning, or day, or anything.
Well, how about if we switch to Monday at 1 o'clock? If I can, maybe I can switch my patients, just do half a day.
Monday at 1 o'clock works for me.
Yep, Monday the 10th
Then we
at
can
1.
televise it, unless we
That'd be
stay
good.
here
And it
until,
gives us plenty of time.
yeah. That's December what?
10th,
10th.
November 10th.
Or, November
November 10th, Monday,
10th.
at 1.
Monday
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
at 1. Okay, I'll do that.
That's set now?
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Bonnie will need 3 signatures.
Special board meeting will be 1 o'clock. Okay,
Monday, November 10th.
very good. We got that resolved? Thank you. Next, we go to the items removed from the agenda, which is the Nexus board minutes. Page 20.
Hi, John. Sorry to surprise you. I was just reading through these minutes, and I wanted to know a little bit more, and I think the public should know a little bit more about this type of program in respect to the tax abatement versus things like TIFs and things like that. Does this money come back to the county sooner after this has expired, that sort of thing? And actually, what does Northern Nexus do with respect to all these other committees and so forth that we have to aid development and that sort of thing?
Okay. Good evening. My name is John Syke. I'm the Planning Director for Grand Traverse County. Northern Nexus is the new name for the Grand Traverse Region Next Michigan Development Corporation. The Next Michigan Development Corporation is a designation by the state of Michigan. We're one of 5. Potentially there might be a 6th one in the UP, but we're one of 5 within the state. This was a designation that came a few years ago. There is an interlocal agreement between Grand Traverse County, City of Traverse City, Garfield Township, East Bay Township, and Blair Township. That interlocal agreement essentially creates that development corporation. The corporation is assigned a certain number of tools to incentivize businesses that we kind of call multimodal businesses. Those are businesses that are distributing their products by 2 or more modes of transportation. So it's really kind of focused on logistics. So those modes tend to be like air, road, water, rail. So those incentive tools that are provided to those Next Michigan Development Corporations are tax abatements, tax-free Renaissance zones, and a tax increment financing tool called the LDFA, or Local Development Financing Authority. Those tools can be applied by Northern Nexus in conjunction with the statutes that govern those different tools. What we've done so far to date are 2 projects. One actually will be considered tomorrow by the board. Your representative is Chairman Lemkool on that board. It's a 5-member board, so essentially those 5 entities that I mentioned in the agreement make up, there's a representative elected official on that particular board. The consideration for tomorrow will be a tax abatement. The minutes that you mentioned that back in June was another tax abatement for a different company. Typically, tax abatements are conducted at the local level, be it city, village, or township. Those tax abatements forego either personal property taxes or real property taxes for a certain period of time. Typically, they're not 100%, they're typically 50%, and they go to an effect as a way to incentivize for a certain amount of job creation. Those tax abatements often will happen with a decision of those local boards. Typically, the county is not part of that discussion, so that's one of the things that Northern Nexus actually affords us, is a discussion as a county representative in those tax abatements along with the other jurisdictions. Technically, they could still go for a tax abatement to a local jurisdiction, but this is intended to ultimately streamline a process, make it more of a one-stop shop so that they can come forward to Northern Nexus for those abatements. We haven't applied the other tools. The state right now is kind of moving away from tax-free Renaissance zones, even though that was provided in the statute. That would only be used in a situation that is very beneficial to the larger community. It would have to be a very special project. The LDFA, it's a pretty strong tool that could be provided to the communities. We haven't really applied that, or we've kind of had some initial discussions, but really haven't considered that this time.
When you have accountability, how do you look at what is abated, and then with respect to investment and creation of new jobs? Is there a dashboard for that, or you just assume when you go into this is what will happen?
There's a certain scoring sheet that's done that identifies, so the abatement is determined on how much investment is being made in terms of number of jobs, as well as the amount of investment into machinery or buildings and so forth. So that's how it's evaluated. One of the things that we're doing in this whole process is we're engaging all the other taxing jurisdictions. Obviously, abating property taxes doesn't necessarily just impact the county or those local jurisdictions I mentioned. It impacts other jurisdictions, for instance, like the college or Beta or the library or so forth. We have kind of changed the model where, like I mentioned, it could have gone just to a township board and that would have been done without any input from these other jurisdictions. We are engaging all those other jurisdictions to be part of that. They have all been informed of the hearing. They're invited to come and meet with the board to talk about these abatements. So it's a much more open process by all those jurisdictions when they make these considerations.
It does sound like a better idea, but is there a follow-up on what you think will happen and what does happen?
There has to be, because there are clawback provisions so that if the investment is not made, then there has to be a provision to restore those abatements.
And also, these are for-profit businesses that we're working with primarily?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sonny?
There was John, and I want to commend you on the article in the Business News ticker today in regard to the Nexus, because it was a very good article if anyone had an opportunity to read it. One of the things that I wanted to mention, two things about the Nexus program that I'm pretty excited about. Number one is it talks a lot about retention of existing businesses, which, you know, we've always been, whenever we talked about economic development or any of those things, we all talked about bringing in new jobs. We didn't talk about allowing existing businesses to expand and deal with that. So there's a lot of emphasis on retention in this new guidebook or whatever we're going to call it. And the other thing is I like the idea that the collaborative efforts in regard to the abatements, you know, we've had discussions in this group about the TIF2 that the city of Traverse City has. It's coming up for renewal. We have nothing to say about it, but the city has the ability to reduce the taxes that are going to be collected by Grand Traverse County significantly by extending that if they choose to, without our vote. That through the Nexus program, we're supposed to bring all of those taxing entities to the table, which should make that a little bit more equitable. The other thing is they have the ability to go in and do an annual review or a biannual review to whether or not those jobs were actually created. And if those jobs were not created, they have the ability to pull back that tax abatement. You know, and that's, I think those are the key parts of that.
Is there any other discussion? A motion to approve the minutes is in order.
To receive and file.
Charlie, support by Wheelock. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is department action items. Up is the Regional Revolving Loan Fund application for Creekside Clinic PLC. John, you're still up.
Yes. With me this evening is Laura Galbraith from the Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce. Just to kind of refresh your memory on this particular application, a couple weeks ago you did have a public hearing. This is a resolution that is part of the application package. The program, which used to be housed at the county, is now administered through the Chambers Foundation, and you have an agreement that has them as that administrator. There's a separate committee that actually approves that particular loan, of which you have representation from Dave Benda on that particular committee. I don't have anything really to add to this resolution other than if you have any questions or comments, and I'll ask Laura here to, if there's something specific that you want about the application.
Questions, Dan?
This is a loan, essentially, right?
Yes.
Okay, how much is it for?
$490,000.
Over how many years?
Yeah, Laura, you want to come here?
Laura's the expert
I want the
on
public
this.
to hear it.
Yeah, Laura's the expert.
Good evening. I'm Laura Galbraith, Vice President of Finance with the Chamber. The way that the loan right now is structured is the maximum amount we can have is a 5-year term loan, but we can amortize over a longer period of time, and so the committee suggested a 15-year AM.
So it'd be $400,000 plus, 5 years, 20-year amortization due in 5. Am I right?
Yeah, it would balloon.
Do you refinance it?
We can.
Do you come back to us and ask, or no?
No, at that time, there's other funding that we could utilize. This program is meant to revolve so that we can defederalize it and be able to deploy it throughout the rest of the community.
And for the public education, Who is lending this money?
The Chamber Foundation.
And
So we would be the bank, and we are liable for the program.
This was money turned over from the county that we were left in our
CDBG
bank
funds.
and was doing nothing for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so somebody put that money there.
The
Who
state
put-
of Michigan gave it to
Okay,
us.
so that's state
We've
of
been-
Michigan money. We didn't, it's not taxes.
No.
We've been doing loans all along from the county, and it was decided because of the structures and the difficulty of getting those loans out, that it was better off to join and put this money into the chamber and let them manage it rather than us doing so.
Now, here's what I
Mainly
want.
because
Right.
businesses did not want to have their books open to the public.
Well, what made you pick this business for a $400,000 loan?
Well, the way that the program works is you have to qualify for the national objective. And so there's 2 ways that you can qualify. You're either eliminating blight, or you're hiring people that will be 51% low to moderate income. So that's about 80% of the median income of Grand Traverse County. And so this particular company approached us and said, we are hiring 14 full-time positions within the next 2 years, and out of those 14 positions, more than 60% will be under that low to moderate income threshold. The other requirements, so that's the initial requirement, and that's ultimately what HUD wants, is for us to meet that national objective. MEDC, as our go-to for how this program actually operates, there's a few other areas that they want the loan committee to really focus on when they're evaluating whether or not to approve the loan. And it was approved by loan committee about a week and a half ago. And some of the things that they look at is, did we utilize a certified development financial institution to do the underwriting, which we did. We outsourced that to a company called Northern Initiatives based in Marquette. They also want to make sure that the loan committee has expertise, and we do have individuals that serve on that loan committee that have been involved in our other loan funds, and they do have the expertise to be able to make this determination. They'll also look to make sure that the project is feasible, that the businesses need financial assistance. They know that they really don't want us to be competing with traditional lenders. They want us to be looking for projects that the business may have not been able to secure this through a traditional bank. This is really to help support the economy and to grow jobs in the region.
What percent are we charging these people interest?
The interest rate is based on risk, but there is a floor of 5.99%. So MEDC stated that it needs to be, it actually is prime plus 2 with a floor of 5.99%. So right now, prime is at 3 point something. And so we would not be able to do anything lower than 5.99%.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
John, is this a public hearing now that we're having for this, or is just, we just need approval?
Well, you already did
The
that.
hearing was held a few weeks ago. This is
Okay.
just for resolution.
This is for approval.
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion by Thomas, support by Wheelock. Any other discussion? All those, Dave?
I just want to say, as a person who came into the loan committee, I was thoroughly impressed with how deep into the business plan they got. We interviewed the principals of the firm, and we made some significant changes to the application and put some demands upon them that I thought were well thought through, and we did have a lot of expertise on that committee. Doug Luciani and I both agreed that we could not have even thought up those questions and come up with, those kind of caveats to put on this loan. So they really did vet this loan thoroughly.
Okay. Sonny?
When we tried to do this as the Grand Traverse County EDC and hold these reviews publicly with board members being involved, we got into just all kinds of rat race because literally we're discussing these private enterprises' financial statements and their debt service and all of those kind of things in public meetings, and they're televised. And, somehow or another, we had a shortage of people that wanted to come and apply for that money. So we had the money sitting in the bank. And the foundation, the Chamber Foundation came with the idea that, by doing this, we took it out of the public entity doing it per se, and yet we still made the money available to grow jobs in our community. And you know, here's an example where I think it's going to work.
Charlie, you've always talked about economic development. This is where the county really pushes economic development. This is just one of the tools in their toolbox.
I think that's the greater story. All these programs that we can push that will create sustainable, meaningful jobs, economic development, we should be pursuing to the nth degree.
Well, and we should note, I think the 80th percentile on average median income right now in Grand Traverse County is around $57,000. So these aren't minimum wage jobs.
So, okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, John and Laura.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
your work on this. Next is administrative finance. On your desk is the claims. Mr. Dott.
You have your claims that have been paid in October totaling $22,302,614.38. I'm asking for your approval.
So moved as presented.
Support?
Support. Motion by Inman, supported by Lathrop. The only question I have is the almost $12 million payment for the one.
That's we're collecting a lot of property tax revenue. The local units are collecting tax. The majority of that, over $11 million, is the state education tax that's paid to the state of Michigan that the local units collect, remit to the county treasurer, and then we process that payment back to the state of Michigan.
I think that's important for everybody to understand, that we collect the taxes and then we pay it back to the state.
Then they send back a portion of it.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I have a motion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is the Michigan Drug Court Grant Program 2015 contract.
The 13th Circuit Court Family Division applied for a state court administrative office fiscal year 2015 drug court grant. They actually have received these grants in the past, but there's quite an extensive application process, and they were awarded a fiscal year 2015 grant. It's not as much as the current grant. These grants run on the state fiscal year, which is October 1st through the following September 30th. The grant provides funding for counseling treatment services, drug testing and analysis, and also funding for the a conference and related travel expenses. I'm asking for approval for the chairman to sign that grant agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the chairman to sign the drug court grant in amount of $48,000.
Support by Rennie. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is old and unfinished business, the County Courthouse Historic Bell Tower. This is a letter that a group of people would like to take on the responsibility of raising funds for the bell tower. That's all this is giving them approval to be able to go ahead and do so. Dave?
Yeah, and last week when this was came up on the agenda, I thought Pete Doran was going to be here to address it, but he had something come up that he could not make it. However, he called me and asked me if, he knew that he couldn't just raise funds on behalf of the county. He needed something from us, and he's in fact correct. We do need to authorize them to raise funds, and Mr. Doran has the idea that he and his group of people that are on this list have agreed to go out and solicit businesses and so forth to collect enough money to pay for the bell to be restored to working order.
So I need a motion to allow this committee to go forward. Chris?
I would move to authorize the Historic Bell Tower County Courthouse Committee to collect funds on behalf of the county to fix the court clock, bell tower.
Second. Second by Inman. Any other discussion? All those, excuse me.
Are these considered to be tax deductible donations?
Yes.
Would be. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, they're making them directly to the county treasurer for
Okay, so the payments will be made directly to
the
Grand Traverse
treasurer.
County Treasurer?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, is there any new business? Is there, at this time, we'll have the second public comment.
Bob Johnson, 2867 Voice Road, Kingsley. I'm hoping that the 911 does pass. I would encourage you, though, to not use that into the general fund. In my opinion, you're just putting a Band-Aid on it and not addressing the systemic problem of not balancing that budget. So, as an incoming commissioner, I don't know if I speak for the other ones that are coming in, but I know we're not in favor of using those funds for the general fund, and instead using those to replace the equipment that's desperately needed. So, again, I think they may agree also, and if it does get passed, then I don't know if we can do anything to reverse it when we come in office, but there's a good chance we will do that. So, thank you.
Anybody else in the public like to make comment?
Lisa Kropa, County Commissioner-elect, well, as of Tuesday at 8:01, I hope, for District 3. Just to answer Bob's question, I have unfortunately been taken a little out of context in the press, but the truth is that I as well do not support the surcharge dollars going to a removal of the general fund allocation, at least not in the first year. We have a commitment to our citizens, to our first responders, to fix that equipment. There's no plan B. I called Jamel. There's no plan B. First of all, it's critical to have the surcharge passed. Second of all, it's critical that our board, your board, all of these boards do our job, which is to be stewards of this money correctly, and it's to give our citizens the best thing they could possibly purchase with their money, and that would be a new radio system for Central Dispatch. I'd like to see that, and then it's a 6-year surcharge. We can discuss general fund regression from there, but for the first year, I would be very sad to see a budget balanced on the backs of the taxpayers. Next year, when we're at a structural deficit again, do we pick another department and tax somebody on that? Then the next year when we can't, and then the next year, happens to be 911 this year, could be something else. This isn't how we balance budgets. We make cuts, we look at services, and we do the hard job. We don't balance it on the backs of the taxpayers year after year after year. I just ask everybody to pass this surcharge. It's critical. And have the faith and trust in the people that you elected to this office to make the right decision with this money. I think I can speak for Bob and several of the other commissioners and let them speak. But our new board certainly wants to move forward with this not being taken out of the general fund. They deserve this equipment. So thank you.
Anybody else in the public? Carol?
I'm Carol Crawford. I'm Commissioner-elect for District 6. I can't say it any better than Elisa did or that Bob did. I just want to have it on the record that I agree with them, that the 911 surcharge hopefully will pass. I do support that for the equipment and the upgrades that 911 desperately needs, not for general fund dollars to balance our budget. So please consider that as you go forward and talk about all these different cuts that are possible or whatever you're going to do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to make comment? Sheriff Bensley.
Good evening, Tom Bensley, Grand Traverse County Sheriff. My conversations with the county administrator, the $700,000 figure, I understand to believe that is what the county needs to make in cost reductions or revenue increases. And I will tell you that we have been working at the Sheriff's Office, both at the Law Enforcement Center and at the jail, looking on how we can increase fees and reduce our costs in that budget. I would hope, and I did see your comments on where we can cut. Some of those I was okay with, and obviously some I wasn't. But we're willing to work with the board in trying to do our fair share in coming up with that $700,000 figure. Some of that may revolve around some of the non-personnel line items that we're looking at in this year's budget to, in effect, quote, spend down next year's budget. Again, this is outside of the personnel line items that I know the county always looks forward to at the end of the year coming back, so they can put in the fund balance for the forthcoming year. So I don't know when our opportunity might be, whether it would be with the entire board, whether it would be with Mr. Benda, to sit down and look at these suggestions you have had and others that we have had. So we're willing to do our share, but at this point I'm not quite sure of how that process is going to work. So,
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to make comment? I don't see anybody. So next is commissioner reports. Dan?
I was at the Beta, I'm on the board of Beta, a bus system today, and we had a regular meeting. But we also had our year's strategic planning meeting, which lasted 3 or 4 hours. Very impressive, the way that Beta's decided to measure and manage the services they offer the public. They have accountability. They have specific goals. Every quarter they measure if they've met those goals or not. They reward their employees with like gain sharing. If they do better for the business, then the employees do better. Versus what we do here is step increases. So it's the rewards are related to not only their efforts, but the outcomes. Very impressive, and I'm hoping that when we do our strategic planning after the first of the year, in case I win, I think I might because I'm unopposed. I'm not cocky though, you never know. I'm hoping that the new board will consider listening to the people that have helped Beta and maybe adopting the same type of piercing outcome management that they're doing.
Okay. Charlie.
Thank you, Herb. First, I'd like to announce the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Organization received recently a $1.2 million grant that will allow it to expand its integrated healthcare effort at the Traverse Health Clinic. That's at 105 Hall Street in Traverse City. It's over a 4-year, the grant period. The project will build upon current primary care resources of the Traverse City Health Clinic and the behavioral health resources of Northern Lakes Community Mental Health, which combined resources in 2013 to establish an on-site integrated healthcare clinic at the Northern Lakes offices in Traverse City. Also, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health has chosen a new CEO. His name is Carl Kovacs. He comes from within the organization. Incredible resume, years and years of service, private and public sector, quite a fellow. He will replace Greg Paffhouse, who is a legend in and of himself. Mm-hmm. Carl rose to the chief executive officer position from the chief administrative officer at Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. So over there, everyone is very happy about that. Also went to the Grand Traverse County Community Collaborative Annual Meeting last week. Very interesting presentation on poverty in the state of Michigan. Attended the probate court celebration. That was a wonderful event over at Park Place. Also went to the harbor celebration for the Northwest Michigan College Maritime Academy, celebrating the new harbor completion, a deep water harbor in Grand Traverse Bay. We were honored to have Carl Levin, Dan Benachek, Wayne Schmidt, and other celebrities there to talk about that and what that's all about. And also the great impact that college and this academy will have on our community. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else? Sonny?
I had opportunity to participate in a regional Affordable Housing Task Force meeting last week. Herb was unable to attend and almost got elected chairman. But since he wasn't,
You got to be careful with that.
since he wasn't there, I got elected chairman.
Oh, geez.
So, this is a joint group of representatives of Grand Traverse County, the City of Traverse City, East Bay Township, Garfield Township. It is a combination of groups of both elected officials and staff with the sole mission to help expand affordable housing in our community. What we did at last week's meeting was deal with primarily the studies that have been done and what we have identified as need. The meeting will be held the third Thursday of each month, 1 o'clock, I believe. I have to look at my other calendar, but next month's meeting, we are going to talk about the tools that are available to us, all of the things that we have as far as the Housing Trust Fund, the land bank, and the things that some of the issues that townships have. We're going to talk about the nonprofit entities, the Homestretch, and the Habitat for Humanity. But one of the discussions that we had the other night was the fact that we all pretty much believe that the nonprofits on their own do not have the capacity to meet the need in our community. So we're going to have to be looking for partnerships that can be created with for-profit developers or other organizations to meet the housing needs of our community. So we're going to talk about next month, we're going to gear primarily toward talking about the tools that are available to us and what kind of partnerships that we can create with these. One of the things that I mentioned that probably won't be quite so popular to talk about is the roadblocks that are set forth by our local entities that make affordable housing difficult, if not impossible, in many of our areas. You know, the only way that affordable housing becomes practical is when we allow for the density to increase. And when we look at the townships that have, you know, and I live in one of them, have basically a township ordinance that requires that lots be 1 acre, and their high density lots can get down to a half an acre. You know, that's simply not density enough to allow for the practical creation of affordable housing. So we're going to talk next month about the tools that are available to us, and then my goal is the following week to bring in planners from each of the individual entities and talk about what kind of zoning issues they have that are hampering the development of affordable housing in our community.
Dan?
Just a question for, I'm interested. Does this group pretty much do this low housing just in Traverse City? Are there examples of it being outside of the city?
Well, recently, Grand Traverse County, through its land bank and through its Housing Trust Fund, procured grants from the MDEC for affordable housing expansion in both the village of Fife Lake and the village of Kingsley. Pretty much an unheard of thing. Normally, if you go out throughout the county or throughout the state, the only time you got MEDC money was basically inner cities.
And that's been
high density.
pretty much.
That's historically where the whole thing was brought forth to create affordable housing in what had, for practical purposes, become blighted inner cities. In our community, we don't have that situation. We have a vibrant, viable inner city, but we still have a significant need for affordable housing. And, you know, one of the things that I've always said is the need for affordable housing in our community isn't necessarily in the inner city. It is throughout our community. You know, I can't go to someone and say, I'm willing to help you find affordable housing, oh, by the way, you have to move to Traverse City. You know, the Depot project is a fabulous development, but I'm not going to someone that lives in Mayfield Township and tell them, I can help you with affordable housing, but you have to move to the Depot project in downtown Traverse City. So, you know, what we've tried to do now is, you know, we have the need throughout our community. We're looking at the tools, we're looking at the abilities to partner with for-profit developers that are willing to put up, you know, their money, because we simply don't have enough. You know, we simply don't have enough, and the nonprofits absolutely do not have capacity to meet the need.
Thank you.
So we're gonna deal with the tools, and then we're gonna deal with the restrictions that the local entities have, and you know, once we identify those, maybe we can work at changing them.
Sonny, one of the other things that came up last night at Garfield Township was the fact that the township was being asked to do a 50-year pilot for a project by one of the federal government funders. They're balking, and I don't blame them. You know, how can you give a 50-year pilot of 4%, you know, and not know where it's going to go? You know, and so that's one of your roadblocks too. So the federal government starting to do these unrealistic demands. If you want our money, you're got to do this, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that. So how are you going to continue doing it?
Well, for years, MDEC has said that they will give you money, but the development had to be connected to public water and sewer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, that immediately takes out 70% of our county.
Right. So, go ahead.
Well, I think Sonny makes a great point. I think we've initiated this idea now. I think we have to look at our county in general and in total and decide what will work best. Certainly, there are areas of affordable housing outside the real highly densely populated areas of the county, East Bay, Traverse City, and Garfield Township. We have to do more for those people as well, not just say we cannot do it.
Well, one of the things that, you know, and I don't know if it's necessary for this discussion, but one of the things that was interesting was to look at not only what the housing costs were, but what the energy cost was. Because all of a sudden you end up where, you know, we've always said you drive till you can afford the rent. But when you get to that point, when you add the energy cost of driving back and forth, we were seeing examples of people that were paying between their rent and their energy cost to get back and forth to wherever they were working, were paying 70% of their annual budget for housing and energy.
Way too much.
It's way too much. So,
Okay.
you know, it's,
Other commissioners have comments? Chris?
No, I have notice.
Oh, no, comments.
No
I'm
comments.
going to give a couple of them here. Wendy was recognized this morning as one of the experts on the Ebola. So I understand that you are going to be one of the speakers. So congratulations, Wendy, on that. It's nice to know we have these expertise right here in our own staff within our county. The other is the pavilions. Friday will have their meeting, and they have a proposed budget. Their budget is $27,692,000, and there's no appropriation request from the county residents. This is all self-sustaining. So, you know, that's not always normal for a medical care facility, and it's really great the job that they're doing. They're putting in, I think it's like $400,000 just in repair and maintenance on a yearly basis, and it's a 20-year-old building now. So some of that stuff is starting to wear out. And then they also have a gentleman that's in their facilities that will be the general contractor for our health department building and putting all the repairs and organizing all the repairs and water suppression systems and everything else. So he will be heading that up within their organization. So, you know, people are hiring great people to be able to handle some of this work, and it's really important. The other thing is that this morning we approved the East Bay Shopping Center to go forward, and also the DEQ has stepped up and will take care of the plume. So I think that's just a great thing. That plume has been there for 10 years that I know of or more that they've known about it, and we've done absolutely nothing. And so it's great to see that they're going forward. Also, last night's meeting, Kay Schumacher announced that she will be retiring as Garfield Township's clerk on the end of January of 2015. So they will be going out to look for a new clerk. And then tomorrow morning, I've been asked to be at the employee recognition to recognize some of our employees, so I'm looking forward to doing that.
9 a.m.
9 o'clock. Okay, notices. Chris?
if at all possible, out of consideration for our county clerk and her hardworking people, next Tuesday is Election Day. They are going to be up all night. Can we postpone any agenda items on public health and safety to our, Bonnie's smiling, I'm.
Yes.
Yeah. And/or applauding, but if we can we?
You're the chairman, and you can
Are you
do
talking
that.
about canceling PHNS?
Yeah, and Wendy's hollering no. Okay. Bonnie, I was just,
Previews
I was
coming
trying to be
attractions.
nice.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The medical examiner office, we have some positions that we have to get added and
Okay.
approved to the
Fine.
county classification plan. And Wendy needs that to start like ASAP.
All right.
So that's why that's why we're both
serious
flagging you
discussion
down, is
about
because we've been working on
Okay.
this.
So it's going to be a short meeting.
Absolutely. We can put them on,
All right.
we can put them on the consent calendar. It's stuff you've already
tried,
heard, we just
Bonnie.
need approval on it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any other notices, Charlie?
Can we make a comment? This 9/11 surcharge thing, it goes to the ballot November 4th. No one knows the outcome yet. I don't think we need a lot of speculation from future commissioners as to what this board should be doing. I believe this board can make reasonable decisions with respect to this budget after we know what this surcharge does. For someone to come up and say they are not going to go for this on next year or something like that is meaningless at this point, and I wish you would keep it to yourself. Thank you.
Any other comments? We are going into closed session, so
Yes.
I need a
Two.
motion to go into closed session for
Labor negotiations. to
Labor
discuss
negotiations.
Do we expect a decision coming out?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we go into closed session for the purpose of discussing labor negotiations and advise the public that we will not be making a decision coming out, so we'll call back to order and then adjourn.
Support by Rennie. Roll call, please.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yep.
Lemkool?
Yep.
Carol? Carol? Oh, there you are. I thought you left, yeah.
All right.